Good late afternoon, early evening, very late morning, late night, or very early morning, depending on where you are. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People. I'm here to share the wisdom of the truth of the knowledge, of the goodness, of the justice, of the goodness, of the truth, of the wisdom of the knowledge. And you are the lucky recipient of such. And or participant in such. If you're here in the live chat like Ryan Harrison, you know, like I know, like he knows that it's 4:09 p.m. and that means time to clean. Using Formula 409. Our sponsor for today is Formula 409 and Formula 609 and so forth. Hambone says, "Sup, broski? Good question. Well said, well phrased. The answer is, of course, the sky." Ryan Harrison says, "It's time to be lazy and not use SE and just watch this." Well, see, this is one of the advantages of having PoLR Se. Having PoLR Se means you don't even quite feel guilty about not doing anything. You just think, I really don't get the point. Now, really what I was thinking about, though, as an advantage of PoLR Se was the advantage I discussed earlier with Spacey. It is a good thing for him to have PoLR Se because when I was running errands earlier today and I really needed somebody to go with me in the car, well, it's like he's not really thrilled by anything really in life. He doesn't think that that sounds particularly worse or better than anything else one might do. So I felt pretty comfortable going, "Hey, will you go with me on these errands?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." Another state of the channel address, says Fate Wind. We need another state of the channel address. Well, the state of the channel right now is the young buck is INTP, correct, Ryan Harrison? That's you, Spacey. You're the young buck.
Yes, I'm a strong young boy.
He's a young buck.
Young buck.
Growing into his antlers. Yeah, he's an INTP. State of the channel. The fact is, the channel is suffering at the moment from Eric's assorted life crises. The biggest of which, most significant of which, is my parents' ongoing identity theft that they've been subject to. We were fortunate. We got on top of it early enough that the amount of serious damage to the family estate or whatever is very limited. I mean, there's not really any serious damage. But been a huge pain in the ass, and these fuckers are quite determined to steal my dad's identity. And one of the most challenging things about it is that my dad has polar NI, which means he's super paranoid about everything. He thinks his new cell phone is compromised in some way. It's not. Trying to calm him down and explain shit to him is a pain in the ass. Fortunately, my daughter's doing most of the heavy lifting on that, and I'm extremely grateful and proud to have her as a daughter. She's ESTP, and her ability, willingness, and capacity to not be frustrated at doing the steps that are required to get this shit handled is quite impressive. Let's see here. Hambone says, "Would Spacey recommend becoming an electrician?" He's not in the room at the moment. He went to, I think, either throw his food away or get some ketchup or something. But I would suggest that he would say, probably it would depend on what kind of person you are and what kind of shit you're into. If you're really into getting shocked, then yes. Well, there's a question for you, Spacey.
What's up?
Would you recommend becoming an electrician?
Yes, I would recommend picking up some kind of a trade. Especially if you're a young buck such as myself.
Right. So, that's advice from a young buck to fellow young bucks.
Let me tell you why.
Tell us why, young buck.
All the old boomers who are filling up all the trades are all about to retire, which means you want to be one of two things. You want to either be a tradesman because as all of the people retire and there's not as many of you, you're going to be way more in demand, especially as nobody knows how to do anything themselves. And you might also want to be a nurse to take care of all those fucking old boomers who are in the hospital. So, there you go.
That's good advice, Busy. That's good advice. It's good for me to have you as a resource, a young buck resource to provide young buck advice to fellow young bucks, because only young bucks know really the perspective of the young buck in this modern world.
Now, if you can stand to go to school for like 20 bazillion years and get your doctorate or whatever, then by all means, be a physicist or something. But, otherwise, just do whatever you want. Start your own business or pick up a trade or something. Find a useful skill.
Become a manufacturer of cheese.
Or a cheese manufacturer, sure.
If you aren't manufacturing cheese, my first question is why not? If you are, my next question is, are you manufacturing enough cheese?
I need a cutting tool. I need to finish
There's a pair of big scissors on that thing right out there, the white thing. Right, look outside.
Outside? Oh, okay.
There's a pair of big scissors on your face. There's a pair of big scissors in your ass.
Scissors right here.
What are you trying to cut? Oh, the floor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those are probably pretty good scissors for cutting the floor, but I think the long scissors are better. Those are hanging up there, but hanging on that.
Actually, no, I can't use the length because you only get enough leverage right up near the joint anyway.
That's true.
Cut well, so I think these might actually be better. Are the markers and stuff still out there? If this doesn't work, then
I've got a lot of confidence in your TE, Spacey. Spacey right now is currently helping placate Kimberly, who, in her typical fashion, after we did the floors for her, said, "Oh, thanks, guys. Now, this spot right here, and that spot over there, and shit that pisses me off, Just dab on them haters. Hello, cool people. We are cool people. So old. Who's old? Me? I am so old. You know how old I am? 312. Sheila W. Happy July 16th, everyone. Dark Star. Hey there. Just hopped on, and I need to know what the fuck polar functions are. I have seen them as the fourth function. I see you describing the seventh. It's seventh. Polar is seventh. It means place of least resistance. It's the area of your cognitive configuration where you are suspect in both terms of you've got no defense there, and that it's going to, when you are compelled by circumstances to attend via that modality, it's going to lead you astray usually. So if you are an INFP, you have PoLR Se, which means you don't know how to do shit. They don't say fourth. Socionics people, polar is a socionics term and it refers to the 7-slot function. Here's what I see what's happened. Socionics people have a different numbering system. So if you look at the way they configure the stack visually, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 front stack, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the back stack. But they have a different numbering system. So they'll go like 1 and 2 are the same, but 3 is 6 and 4. I mean, I don't fucking know. It's stupid. So you're right about that. They do have a different numbering system. And if you listen to socionics numbers, then they're not going to correlate with any other numbers, because they do it by blocks. They go, the ego block is 1, 2, and I think the next block is 3, 4, but it's actually 6, 3, or I don't know. I use MBTI numbers. Front stack is 1, 2, 3, 4. Back stack is 5, 6, 7, 8. So in that regard, I guess the fourth is probably your polar in socionics numbers. Is it true that INTPs often argue with themselves while talking? I would assume so. They do it internally. I mean, obviously, they don't necessarily verbalize it, although they could. My mom and ISFJ argued with other people while driving. I'd see her going, rehashing conversations in her head and explaining her position and gesticulating and stuff. Yeah, so the polar, as I keep referring to it, is the blind spot because it's, in my opinion, the best way to think of slots in general is according to a value matrix. The first slot being the implicit value. Everything's got to fit within that value somewhere. The second slot being instrumental. That is to say, you want the world to allow it to be a tool to solve problems. And when the world doesn't conform to that expectation, you get frustrated. But overall, it's not satisfying in and of itself to use that function. It's just instrumental, right? So the third slot function, or tertiary in MBTI, I don't know what it's called in socionics. That's the one that's an absolute value that you're sort of conscious of. You realize that it gives you satisfaction when you get juice in that area. And that's basically the driving force of most of your ontology, ultimately. But the other driving force is the fifth slot. That's the other absolute value. For me, it's NI. Those two, third and five, they define your values about the world in general. Awkward INFP is here. We were talking about your earlier awkward INFP in the raw room, about whether or not you're an INFP or an ENFP, because you have lots to say, whether you're extroverted or not. Hi, Eric and Spacey, smiley face. Could SE polar freeze when others try to come at them, as in if someone is doing their best to demean an INXP in some way? I mean, they're going to feel not quick enough on their feet, for sure. And the reason for that is because they're deliberative types. They'll reach the correct answer, but they countervalue NI. When they reach the correct answer, instead of acting on it and pulling the trigger and saying the right thing at the right moment, they countervalue NI. They go, well, that might not be the right answer, and they ideate further. This is why they'll always feel like, after a conversation, I wish if I could go back and do it again, I would say this. That would really burn them. I used to have that sensation a lot, but the thing is, the difference being, I would have said something that wouldn't have been quite the right thing. You would have said nothing, right? So, and over time, I got better at saying the right thing, because every time I'd say the wrong thing, I'd beat myself up over that. But I'd always say something. I'd do something, you know? I don't know how to get in touch with any consciously, or how to know whether I do it. I didn't think it was a big thing to me. Well, and one possible area of questioning that I've never explored before, but I thought of today when I was talking with Spacey about random shit or whatever in the car as we ran our errands. What's your relationship with music? Do you find that whenever you've listened to whatever you like musically, after you've listened to it a bit, you get bored of it and you want to move on and find other new stuff? Are you continually finding new music to listen to? Or do you keep going back to your repertoire of favorites mostly and occasionally find new music? Like, what's your relationship in that regard? How much SI-NI gratification do you get out of something? If you continue listening to music you listened to when you were a teenager, you're getting either SI or NI gratification out of it, because it's familiar or because it's true and that's why you liked it then and why you like it now. Really? Wow. What type of Spacey? He's an INTP. He was sort of playing with the idea of being an INFP, and we've talked about it a few times, but I pointed out a few different ways in which he's definitely an INTP because of how he's interacted with me, like saying things that INFPs wouldn't say because they'd be worried about my feelings, even though it doesn't actually impact my feelings, really. I tend to listen to the albums I like most to really appreciate and understand the nuance of it. I don't seek new music often. Then you're probably not any tool function. Any tool function makes you avoid it. Any tool function is any in the wrong place when it comes to NI. So, in other words, you'll hit upon the truth and you'll keep thinking further instead of stopping there. It only makes you doubt your type of tone in the second slot. Because when it's your tool function, you use it as a way to address every issue and every problem in the world. Just like I do with TI. And it means that you're fucked up in some way in that regard. Like, you know, I do shit stupidest way imaginable. For example, yesterday I'll show it to you guys because it's a pretty massively incredible and important creation of mine. It's called Sir Swats-a-Lot. It's my homemade fly swatter, okay? So this is a, you know, I'm going to swat the fuck out of whatever with my homemade fly swatter here. Sir Swats a lot. But this is version 3.0. The first two Sir Swats a lots didn't work right, so I had to make a third one. So what's the moral of the story?
That thing is retarded.
So this thing is fantastic, by the way. If your goal is to swat flies, if your goal is to make Kimberly happy, then I don't know how you could possibly even ever dream of accomplishing that goal.
Just buy a fly swatter like everyone else does.
I mean, I'm not like everyone else. Obviously. I make my own fly swatter. And I name it Surf Swats a lot. So anyway, the point is, it's the lack of TE, right? I didn't think about how I was going to make fly swatter first. I just started taping shit onto shit, right? And it turned out terribly. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't have it like that because I need something more bendy. And then
well, you just sold it. Martial Arts wants it, and let me know where I can mail it.
Sheila points out that looks like too much work rolling newspaper. Right, but see, I find it fun ideating with physical objects. Whenever I choose to indulge in that, though, it is a waste of my time. Because ultimately, Kimberly's right. The smartest thing to do would be go buy a better fly swatter from the store. They're not that expensive, and the amount of time and energy I put into Sir Swats a lot is probably not justified. But regardless, that's how I have fun. And so, it's like, my point is when I start playing around with making shit like the naggin.
It's usually when your mother's here. It is. It's usually when your mom's here. And
think about the wagon. Think about all the different things I made.
I was there.
It preceded us taking care of my mother a lot. Mm-hmm. This is not something that had anything to do with my mother.
Okay.
So don't try to make it more confusing than that. The thing is, one thing I've had to come to terms with is that when I start doing shit like that, right, making things that are fun to make and exploring my innie in the physical world, in this relationship, I have to endure taunting, belittling, mocking, and an active rooting for me to fail. And so that's something I've had to just sort of learn to block out, Could you say my name with a very deep movie voice? It's pronounced Roosmoose. So I can sample it and use it in my music. Roosmoose. In a very deep movie voice. Or turn that fan off for a second, will you? My name is Roosmoose. My name is Roosmoose. And I'm from Dutchtown. Is that what you want to sample? My name is Roosmoose, and I'm from Dutchtown. Sheila W. Interesting. In relation to what they are doing, I use fun a ton. Okay, you turn the fan back on. Thank you. As a TE polar, yes, I would never try to build anything I wouldn't want to. Yeah, well, I get you about that. I like to play around with shit, but I always, part of having counter-value TE is that I choose not to pay attention to TE when I'm playing around with making shit. I'd rather have 2 failed fly swatters and be able to start doing it right now. It's like it's a style of completion. People either executive or constructive. I'm constructive, which is to say I like to just get my hands in there and start doing it and then figure it out in the process. Other people like to know in advance what's going to happen and then figure it out that way.
And then never clean up my mess.
Of course, that's absolutely untrue. Escapism. Yeah, well, it's like yesterday I was having a really difficult day and I wanted to come home and play. And Kim was having a very difficult day too. And she probably wanted to play too. And
no, I wanted to relish in my mood.
You wanted to wallow in your mood.
Wallow in my mood.
Yeah, it is a flow state for me. You could make TikToks. See, I mean, the thing is, okay, TE seems more SE, but more punchy for me. I'm getting confused. It's easy to get confused between TE and SE. The thing to remember is TE is how to do it, not how it's done. Okay? And SE is the doing of it. To the extent that there's any how, and it's how it's done, not how to do it. Is it common for people to have a hard time interacting with those strong in their polar function? It's hard to interact with people who've got your polar function as their tool, because then you have the same style of problem solving in life, but you use incompatible tools to do it. So it's hard for me to interact with people who have TI polar, and it's hard for TI polar. It's hard for FI tool to interact with me with FI polar. Which quadrant is the coolest, beta or one of the others? It's beta. Beta's the coolest, but being coolest isn't the only thing in life. If you hear someone saying fun a lot in their speech, is that a good giveaway? I have SE second, and my goal in life is fun. I have NE first, and my goal in life is fun. I just have different definitions of fun, probably. But I think fun is as much anything as it is an SE thing. It's just that people who have NE second, they find life disappointing all the time. I like NFPs fine. I don't dislike any types. But what I'm saying is, if there's going to be a conflict that's difficult to resolve, and there's going to be a big battle or blow up between two people, it's probably going to be between me and an FI tool user. No, I'm just bouncing my knees up and down, as I usually do. I've got, the Chinese have a saying about that. They say, don't do that or you'll shake your money loose. But I don't know. I've done it for a long time. Yeah, it's probably just Eric's legs is right. I've got restless leg syndrome, but only when awake. Do you guys have any tips for me, ESFP, and my girlfriend, ENFP, to harness our natural strengths in a cooperative, productive way? I think you'll find that the challenge you have, Scotian Southie, is that there's no audience member for either of you. The SE Dom and the NE Dom both ultimately want an audience member in some regard. They want to be in a position where other people are appreciating them, especially the SE Dom with demonstrative FE. Well, both of you guys have demonstrative FE, so the problem is it's going to be like you both want to be the one to demonstrate FE and not have it matter in your own life. But neither of you wants to be the one to have it matter and receive the demonstrative FE. So it'll be like, I have demonstrative TE. Well, that's good because Kimberly's polar TE. So she wants something to do, demonstrate TE all the time. Otherwise, she's not going to get any TE from anywhere, right? But that's not the case with two FI tool users. The SE and FE, NE, how are you going to cause those to work together? Well, the good thing about that is 8 slot in each of them is instrumental to the other. So the SE DOM is used to using NE in the service of SE, and you're providing plenty of NE in the service of SE, but the NE DOM is used to using SE in the service of NE, and so there's plenty of action going on. I guess the argument will be, whose purpose shall it serve? Does the ideation serve the action, or the action serve the ideation? There's going to have to be some sort of compromise on that. Probably take turns or something. Need to have money in the pockets for the beginning to fall out. That's true. Advantages of polar SE, resistance to boredom. No, I don't think there is resistance to boredom. I think that's a disadvantage of polar SE, is a tendency to find everything boring or at least inadequately satisfying. Avoidance of failure, better being poor. I think the biggest advantage of SE polar is that it's kind of it means that it's an alpha quadrant thing, the advantage I see, which is when Susie and Spacey are hanging out here and I'm hanging out, there's no expectation that anything be rendered into reality at any point. And when it does happen to get rendered into reality, oh, that's great, that's fun, that's nice. But there's no burden to do that. So in that regard, I like hanging out with INTPs, INFPs even, although I don't hang out with them a lot because I feel a little judged by them, even though they're super non-judgmental. I just find it, everybody gets the fact that nothing needs to be real for it to be fully realized. And it's kind of an abstract way of talking about it, but it's basically the gist of it. You know, the INFPs, INTPs, they know how to hang out and chill out and just sort of chat and not have to have anything to show for it at the end. I find that very relaxing. The other thing is, they're like the Senate of society's legislative process. They're there to slow everything down. People rush into shit all the time, you know? People want to do the SE before they've done adequate deliberation, before they've concluded what the NI is, before they've looked into the SI. And what the INFP and INTP do is they slow that whole process down and go, whoa, we're not done deliberating about this yet. They dismantle the NI truths of others. They pick apart the TI claims of others. They, they just generally do everything they can to dismantle singularity. Is SE Polar unaware of when other people are trying to put SE pressure on them, hyper aware, or just don't give a fuck? I would say I don't know. Can you answer that question?
Well,
I'll repeat it.
I would say hyper aware.
Okay.
But that's not mutually exclusive of not giving a fuck. I basically, like I said, I have two basic reactions to SE, and that's either not giving a fuck, ignoring it, or having a way too much of an SE reaction. Basically, I can't regulate it. It's either all or nothing.
Right. I mean, I've seen him kick into gear when it's like, okay, let's do this flooring, and he kicks into gear, and he's clearly doing SE. So it's kind of like me and FI. I have lots of bursts of FI. It's just they don't really happen on my own, right? Like, I don't remember really seeing Spacey do anything unprompted, including beat himself.
I don't think that's typical of all INTPs. I think I am particularly bad when it comes to sensing, to be fair.
So, you know, he can have good SE when prompted, just like I can have good FI when prompted. If some loved one dies or cat dies or something, I will feel sad and maybe cry or whatever. If I see some shit on TV that makes me sad, I'll cry about it. When I'm watching those MCU movies with Spacey on the couch, I'm crying at all the scenes that are supposed to make you cry, and he probably is being a little bit more deliberative about those. So
I cry sometimes.
So my FI is vanity, yeah, but it doesn't do anything. As soon as the feeling, the scene is past, the feeling dissipates into thin air like it never was there. It doesn't attach any weight to me, really. Now, there are some occasions when something's really disturbing that I see that will attach too much weight to me, even though it's not even real, even though it's make-believe. Good question, Awkward INFP. Do we watch Hallmark Romance Channel together? Well, I don't know how news of our Wednesday night activities got out on the internet, but yes, we do. It makes my heart flutter in my chest.
It makes my heart flutter.
That would be a great live stream, recommends Awkward INFP. You and me watching Hallmark Romance Channel together. I like the idea.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Good or active, says Liv. Darren Pezkowovic says, I will sit in my house and stare at my computer and find this enjoyable, but I am told it's wrong. And as an SE Polar person, I feel judged by most people I meet, pressure to be productive. Yeah, that sucks ass, dog. I know, it would suck ass to be SE polar. It's easier to be FI polar because society doesn't expect you to really demonstrate a lot of FI. Just a certain, to the extent that they do, you can easily enough figure with FE. But the thing is, people don't understand what comes along with SE polar. Like I gave a little speech to Kimberly about Spacey. Spacey will be helpful and he will do shit that you need to have him do, but you have to tell him directly. You have to ask him, and once he's done with the single task that you've assigned him, he's gonna sit back down on the couch again. He's not going to be caught up in the natural SE momentum of things to continue picking up this and that and the other things that are related but not specifically named as a task to complete. So that's the long and the short of it. The best way to understand SE polar is to say, here's the sort of speech you should give to an employer who's hiring an SE polar person. And here's what you should explain to them. That they can have very good SE. They can do tasks, they can follow through on them. But a couple of things. They need external structure or discipline. It would help if they have an FE component that's strong, like somebody standing there encouraging them and or a generally FE rewarding environment when they complete things. And to remember that you can only give them basically one task at a time. Don't line them up with shit to do one after another. They'll never get to it. That's a good explanation of SC polar. What's with INTPs and the nihilism stereotype? Well, INTPs are naturally going to tend towards nihilism because, they're so ideational in their and abstract in nature that they're weighted down by a bunch of unrealistic expectations and reasons to judge reality. They don't settle on NI shit ever because they use any as a tool function. So they tend to think everything can be dismantled. That lends one towards relativism, which leads towards nihilism also. And managing that, meta-rationalism is the solution to it, but it involves finding room in themselves for faith or conviction in some capacity. And that runs afoul, again, of their tool function NE, which is always going to say, yeah, but why this one thing and not this one other thing or something else? And so, that lends towards nihilism. And unlike the INFP, they don't have this fundamental sense of their authentic, true, feeling-based self as foremost and the implicit, the paradigm of their ontology. So they don't have that inherent sense of themselves as centrally rooted in a authentic experiential reality. Bells Judith says, I am an ENFP with 2 adult ESFP kids. I am so sorry to hear that. I'm just kidding. My husband is an ENFJ. The only way we all relate is to have fun. My kids have no tolerance for deep abstract conversations. An ENFP with an ENFJ, huh? Whew. You got a lot of extroversion in your family, Bells Judith. I like lists and to be left alone to do it. Are you in ISTJ? Freud was an ISTJ. Tell me everything about your past so I can fantasize about it. It's textbook SINE. That's a good point, Jen. Right. You can see the difference in psychological theories or ideology being totally rooted in their personality type when you look at Jordan Peterson versus Freud. Freud thinks everything is related to your past. Jordan Peterson thinks if you have a memory from a long time ago that's persistent, it means there's some sort of problem that needs to be resolved there. Talk about a strikingly different relationship with SI and how lack of awareness of one's own cognitive configuration results in conviction in your own fucking reflexes as being inherently better than other people's. So there, I just said a bunch of stuff. ESFPs are great. I don't get why they're so underestimated in the MBTI. I don't think they're underestimated. I think they're difficult to smoothly integrate socially. ENFPs are much easier to integrate socially because they're language-based fundamentally, where the ESFPs are not language-based. When you have ESFPs who who have a weak relationship with language and have demonstrative FE, like Alpha Quadra will find them to be basically pathological liars and or cringily seeking attention and in ways that are awkward and unaware and stuff like that. Their shit works on some people, but it doesn't work on Alpha Quadra at all. Let's see. ESFPs are pretty brutal in my experience. I've been sucked into them a few times. This shit doesn't work on me. Never has. I slept with one once, but it was just like, ugh. NTPs assume that their subjective preferences are objective reality. Hence the discussion on why ESFPs suck. That's not what the discussion is. In fact, I said Alpha Quadra tends to view it this way because it's our reflective configuration of attentional manners and not because we're right. I said the exact opposite, Sredi Chandran. So Sredi Chandran, unlike almost all of our previous interactions, this time, that thing you're feeling up your butt is my foot. Huh? How do you like that, Sredi Chandran? Supervise that, INFP. See how I just put a hand over the INFP? Spacey?
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. You thought I was
Good
scared.
job, Eric.
You thought I was scared, huh?
You should show
Hold me
that
back!
INFP.
Hold me back,
Not so
motherfuckers!
scary after all.
Yeah. Woo. I'm really sowing my wild oats this day. I find ESFP not valuing ideation at all, and that gets really annoying eventually to listen to them and have them sort of run all over you with their crap. Yeah. Could questioning whether we are in a simulation be connected to SE PoLR? I don't think so. I think that is, in general, it probably correlates with intuition ahead of sensing. Like an ISFJ is going to find it a ridiculous notion that would be in a simulation because so much of their understanding of their own ontology is physical. And you have to be a unique physical being to experience unique physical experiences. Uh-oh. Looks like Sredi Chandran won the fight after all. She points out that I don't have enough SE to travel all the way to India and do that shit.
Oh, she's got your number.
She's got me. You're right, Sredi Chandran. God damn it. Okay, accursed INFPs win again. Ahmed Issam says, my brother is an ESFP and it's great seeing how he learned changing some of his more stereotypically toxic ESFP behavior. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Ahmed Issam. I do believe that people can change, people can evolve, people can grow. I also have the mindset, and I've been thinking about this a lot, that for a lot of people anyway, I'm not sure how many, if this is like everybody or yeah, but for a lot of people, real growth requires that they sacrifice some pride. So that's how it is for me anyway. I grow most when I sacrifice a little bit of pride in the process. Maybe that's being an SI, seeking fourth person. I learn best when it stings a bit or something. I don't know. But I think perhaps the greatest barrier to growth is an unwillingness to sacrifice some pride in exchange for growth. Why do I instantly fall in love as an INTP?
Oh, because you have all these wonderful ideas about what it could be like if you were with somebody.
Fate Wind says, if you know, please explain the difference between ENTP's positive NE and INTP's negative NE. well, I wouldn't call them positive and negative, but I would say that being an any dom means necessarily knowing when not to use extroverted intuition. And being a TI tool user means not knowing when not to use introverted thinking. This is the opposite is true for INTP. Being a TI tool, TI dom means an INTP knows when not to use TI because they're TI dom. And they don't know when not to use NE. So that's what it boils down to. We are at our worst excesses with our tool function. When clearly somebody is trying to express their feelings in ways that aren't really working with words, I'm not sympathetic at all, right? I'm just like, say what you mean and mean what you say. Stop with your fucking arbitrary bullshit. You know, basically, your FI is offending me. Ron Solo says, oh, it's still in the bag of rice. That's the answer to that. Having an optimistic outlook also helps for growth. Having an optimistic outlook does, for sure. But I think that being willing to sacrifice some pride for growth is a fundamental form of optimism. It's saying, to the extent that I give now, I sow good crops for myself in the future. Any DOMs are terribly irresponsible with any conversation, in my opinion. Is this possible because the tool slot views its corresponding function as a tool to be used responsibly? What would you mean that they use any irresponsibly in conversation? The thing is, even if that were the case, we don't use it irresponsibly in our own lives. So it's like, I know when it's time for me to stop ideating about something and do something, for example. Okay, I don't need to think more about what this might be. I need to take action now. That's an example of me not using any too much or at the wrong time. Knowing when to stop ideating and start pulling the trigger is something an any DOM knows to a certain extent. It's something an any tool user doesn't. Okay, let's see here. He's spoken about how FE is perception management. However, isn't that just a third slot FE thing? Does FE DOMs auxiliary have more genuine desire to create harmony? I don't think the desire to create harmony is particularly relevant. I would say that FE DOMs have the most fully realized capacity to engage with the FE data flow of the world around them. That means they're keeping track of the most different number of people's perceptions, and there's sort of, with ignoring FI, remember, an FE DOM is also really good at FI. There's a fundamental understanding and validation of the other as an equivalent being of subjective value that's implicit in an FE DOM, because they operate in the currency of FI, other people's FI. So, yeah, well, introverted thinker, yeah, I encourage her to put more stuff up. She's an owner of TWFE. She's one of 3 owners of the channel. I'm the majority owner, obviously, but I've got 2 minority owners, and I've had them for a long time. I haven't really talked about it much, but Susie's one of them. Taylor's the other one. So, you know, I encourage her to do whatever she wants. The reason they're minority owners is because I trust them and their discretion and their judgment and stuff. But Susie's going to have too much discretion and judgment. She's going to have more discretion and judgment than I want. I would love for her to take some more risks and just put some random shit out. That'd be great. But for the channel, it's always been it's about indulging extroverted intuition above everything else, right? And by the way, Susie, I know I owe you money. I owe you like $7 or something. It's because this fucking identity theft thing. It's knocked everything off of my schedule. I've been just fucking all up in the air about it. My dad is so difficult to deal with when he's under some sort of crisis because of his NI PoLR. He thinks a leaf falls nearby him and he thinks the tree is bugged now. You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah, she is pleasant on the ears. Susie's very pleasant to listen to. I listen to her videos in the car and it's like super relaxing. It's just, though, the only thing is I keep thinking, oh, Susie, just Just stop stopping yourself. Just let it go. Just let it go. Just let the NE go. Just let it go. But she just keeps it on a leash all the time. Same with Spacey. If that's the case, then why do so many FJs talk about how selfless they are and constantly how much they do for other people? Because that's very important to you, for them, that you understand that about them. Right? Otherwise, they wouldn't tell you all the time. FI users who actually help people don't then go and tell other people about it. Why not? Because they actually care about the other people and the good that they're doing, and they don't care about everybody being on the same page. FE users care about everybody being on the same page. What's your Pop's NI PoLR like? Frustrating as fuck when there's a problem going on. He thinks his old phone and his new phone that we got him are both compromised in some fashion. Because what happened is somehow he managed to give permission to somebody to remote desktop his computer. And so this guy got all kinds of shit. And it's a problem, obviously. But one of the things he was able to do was contact Verizon and get his phone service briefly switched over from my dad's phone to this other guy's phone. And so now my dad doesn't trust the phone, he doesn't trust the computer, he doesn't trust anything. That he doesn't trust his landline, he doesn't trust the neighbor's landline. He's got a new cell phone, his old cell phone, his landline, and the neighbor's landline. He doesn't trust any of those 4 phones. That is NI PoLR. Shamanda says, yeah, dude, I know some FJs that have to send out a memo and call a meeting every time they do something nice for them. I don't really, occasionally, I guess I might do something nice and not mention it to anybody. Might do something nice, like, put money in someone's parking meter or something if I see it's out of time, and not ever mention it to anybody. But even then, it would be for the purpose of doing that. So I have a couple of those in my own memory store so I can make those arguments later or something. I don't know. The huge problem with high FI users and type identity theft. Please explain why they refuse to admit they're obviously type wrong. Oh, type identity theft. Yes, that is a serious problem. Well, it's particularly with FI tool users, okay? Because they approach every problem in life, including their own type, as a matter of understanding how they feel about it. I really feel like I'm smart and intuitive and an extrovert and all these other things. And Zenjen indicates that he did do something nice 12 years ago. And so, hey, he still needs credit for that. He hasn't gotten full credit for it yet. Until he does, he's not doing anything else nice. Thane Townsend, samey. Especially because they get these big egos for some reason. Countervalued FE? ? Thank you, Ed Sen. You're acknowledged. Yes, you are acknowledged. Sweaty Chandran. It's so annoying to me when FJs do that. Like, okay, you sent your friends a nice text. It doesn't make you Mother Teresa. Then again, I'm being bitchy. Please tell me I'm wrong about them. I mean, they do a good job of bringing the group together, keeping the group together. They can also... the other thing is FE users can make a small FE disturbance into a big FE disturbance by not being able to be satisfied with that disturbance persisting. That's kind of what happened on TWFP week, summer camp week. I just gave my friend a bong and a cigarette. Am I a good person? Did he want them? Always wanted to be a vigilante so I could do good in peace. For example, Darian already keep mentioning he's an INTJ when he's obviously an ENFP. He's a professional trolling, or he seriously doesn't know. I don't know what type he is. I don't think he's an INTJ, but I don't know. The point is, if he is an ENFP, then he seriously doesn't know. He's just a FI tool. But I don't know if he is or not. I have no idea, actually. Bing Townsend. Cerilius. IDK much about their FE, except that their FE sucks and they can't finish their thoughts without it. Without TI. Does anyone on the FETI axis truly care about anyone then? Yeah, we care about people. Man, what do we care about people? We care about people. Like, I have this need to be good that is beyond just an intellectual need. And I would say it's something that's expressive of an implicit human quality towards being moral. And so that means caring about people. I don't know. It's like there's some people I care about more than others. The thing is about being an FI polar person is when you're not with somebody, you're probably not thinking about them at all. And I get the feeling that other people, they think about other people a lot when they're not with them. Like, oh, I sure do love my significant other. I miss her right now as I'm running these errands or something. You know, I don't get that. I do get a sense of like, I don't want to be running these errands right now. I want to be home playing. That's kind of FI, I guess. Are there any MBTI twin studies? I have an identical twin. I am ENFP and she's ISTJ. We do not get along. It's weird to be identical twins about the stacks. I don't know of any. It's an excellent question. I would love to see some studies on that. It sounds to me if you're identical twins of different types, then obviously it must be something. I mean, I don't know what we could eliminate. I mean, it's obviously you could probably eliminate hormones in the womb. I think my sister is having my nephew. If anyone is a praying type, please send some their way. Thanks for another great stream, Eric. I think my sister is having my nephew is a funny way to say that. I am praying types. I prayed last night, in fact. I prayed generally to the slab. They say, "Oh, mighty slabs." I mean no disrespect or presumption in suggesting or asking of you the following brief attention. If it so pleases you, please allow thy slab-like movements to move in ways that are conducive to goodness, truth, justice, and well-being, and contrary to suffering, failure, and other bad stuff. Amen. That's the sort of prayer I feel comfortable making, because I am very scared of being presumptuous with the slabs. The slabs are wrathful. If you're presumptuous, if you have hubris, then the slabs will strike you down. They will smite you with their mighty slab-like ways. And being smitten by the slabs is like being smitten by a glacier. Except potentially it happens fast, you know. But it's that scope, it's that size of impact. It's like, fuck, there's no way I'm going to withstand this glacier being dropped on my head without sustaining some damage. You know, I mean, you might survive having a glacier dropped on your head, but you're not gonna be unhurt. Probably, you might get a concussion. You might get a scratch on your scalp. It might muss your hair. Oh, good. There's a glacier in Norway, says Susie, and glaciers are nature's slabs. Nature's slabs is the name of my personal fitness company that's centered in Norway, in which I coach people into running up and down the glaciers to get fit. It's like CrossFit, except all you do is run up and down the glaciers. You think that there's any, and the business again is called Nature's Slabs. And this is the billboard. It's like, are you fat? Question mark. Nature's Slabs. And in the middle, just be a big picture of my face like this. I'll sell 1 billion of them. And all of the I sell is unless they pay me their money, you say, okay, go run up the glacier. I point to it. MJ, are you congratulating me on my business acumen? Oh, no, at John. I'm sorry. I didn't see that at first. Do you visit it often? She lives there. She lives in Norway. Oh, you mean the glacier? No, she's too busy at the fjord all day. Shenzhen and vice versa. But that doesn't explain his extroverted and informative behavior pattern. Also, there's a huge pattern of FI identity because I've seen it on the news, so it's true. Never been there. Never been to the glacier? Well, it sounds like you need to go pay nature slabs. I was supposed to go there when Abraham was here, but it didn't work out. You were too drunk. And this is the most INFP thing I've ever read, Sreddy Chandran. Sreddy Chandran, are you being INFP again? Why are there more sensors than intuitives? Because intuitives are largely useless. Did you watch my interview with Benjamin? Sinjin? Oh, baby, retro interviews with Benjamin. Lol, what are you referring to at Martial Arts? Gotcha. Sounds legit, though. Do you get out in nature, Eric? Not as often as I'd like to. I do like getting out in nature, but I haven't in quite a while now. Shit fucking never slows down around here, Kimberly says. Because pre-industrial society valued SI and SE more, because sensors are better for stability and doing things. They used to burn intuitives for being witches. I'm not sure why that's an INFP thing, but cool. I'm not sure they ever actually did burn intuitives as witches. I think it's possible that being an intuitive correlates with spontaneous combustion. Kath Marshall, I actually have a good answer for you on this one. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. How does an INFP deal with ENTJ criticism of laziness? They don't respond to TI reasons. Here's to give them FI reasons. You say, because I've discovered that I authentically, truly, am only happy when I'm not doing that shit. It was intuitives who caused it upon themselves when they made religion, though. No, God made religion, Aurelius. Gosh. God said, write this down. And then he chanted the Bible. Everything I look at your username, I think of Indian food. Every time. I don't say sweaty Chandran. I say Sreddy Chandran. Not sweaty Chandran. Sreddy. Sreddy Chandran. That's how it's pronounced. Sreddy Chandran. Could the 16 types be evidence of a simulation or possibly fit well evolution? Neither. It seems to me it suggests that ecosystems with niches that spontaneously generate individuals of sets that fit those niches. Somehow. Who knows why? I want to roast marshmallows with Sreddy Chandran. With Sreddy Chandran's picture. Oh. You could roast marshmallows on Sreddy Chandran's picture. I think you're using the wrong preposition. No, I don't say slutty Chandran. I say Sreddy Chandran. SRUTI.
I want to get sweaty with Sreddy Chandran.
Do you want to get smutty and sweaty with? Do you want to get slutty, smutty, and sweaty with Sreddy Chandran?
Yeah.
All right, Sreddy Chandran, you got to take her in Spacey. He wants to get smutty, slutty, and sweaty with Sreddy Chandran. It's a human system of measurement. What is? The inch? That's an interesting question. Thanks. Join me at Hambone. Praise the Lord in slabs. Praise the Lord in slabs indeed. Why isn't it Sruddy? Why Sruddy? It's not Sreddy. Dark starts Srut-y. Srutty. Rhymes with smutty, but with an R instead of an M. Being intuitive correlates with astral travel. Spontaneous combustion is an SI thing, in my opinion. It might be too much SI, too much rah-rah, and you spontaneously combust. I would think it's a Saruti. No. It's Sredi Chandran. Gosh, nobody knows how to pronounce Sredi Chandran's name. Remember, if you're too critical of someone's type on Ben's channel, he will remove us every time. INTPs can be very controlling. He's an ISTP. Talking about Benjamin? He's an ISTP. It sounds like slutty children. Bruce Moose. It does not sound like that. That's not nice to say. I'll follow up on Spacey's offer if he's willing to swap names. Okay? So if you're willing to become Sredi Chandran and let her be Spacey, then she's interested in getting smutty, sweaty, and slutty with Sredi. Okay.
That's not a bad deal.
That's really not a bad deal at all. There's no such thing as too much NE. Well, there is such a thing. What level is my NE? My level of NE is dominant. Dominant function. So slot number 1. How does one summon the TI? I don't know how to summon TI. It's sort of automatically on whenever I'm solving a problem for me, I think. Nah, that's not consistent. Nah. Like that. Yeah, ask questions is a good answer, Ron Sol. That's a much better answer than mine. Asking questions like, well, what do you mean when you say this? And do you mean this or this? Phrasing it in terms of binaries, that's a good way to BTI, quote unquote. Are INTPs really all that controlling? Maybe occasionally, but not all the time. I don't think they're controlling. Do you think INTPs are controlling?
No.
INTPs getting pissed is never fun. What happens when you get pissed, Spacey?
I'm like the Hulk.
You
would not like me when I'm angry.
You turn green? What makes you angry? Like, what has to happen for you to get really angry?
I mean, you have to like seriously like be like threatening somebody I love, or, it's that kind of shit.
Too much NE is PoLR Se, the path to permanent AOC. Ass on couch. Well said, Sredi Chandran. But listen, I've got a simple tip for all your SE PoLR people right now who are watching this on a laptop or a telephone, listening to it or whatever. Go ahead, stand up, walk around a little bit, enjoy moving your legs, getting a little exercise, get the breath moving. You're going to feel refreshed later on. Afterward, take a shower, get some clean clothes on, and you're going to feel like a new person. Okay? Ouch, being pissed as an INTP and an Enneagram 9 is not a good combo. I don't think I've really seen Spacey too pissed off before.
It's very hard to make him genuinely pissed.
Samantha says, my INTP is pretty controlling. You can't rush or interrupt his process. Oh, that's not being controlling.
Yeah, that's not being
That's being SE PoLR. You're saying, I don't like the fact that he won't pull the trigger and do shit when it's the appropriate time. Well, that's SE PoLR for you. Any tool getting pissed, how does that happen? I mean, like he said, you gotta involve his FI involuntarily. I don't like having my SE involved involuntarily. The way to get me genuinely pissed is to try to force me to do something before I'm done deliberating about it. The way to get an INTP genuinely pissed is to threaten a loved one in some capacity. I mean, that would make me take it very seriously, but it wouldn't make me angry. Like, I am angry at the identity theft person, but it's not for that reason. INTPs hate taking directive from others. You have to ask them. Go out, we're taking directive from others. Do this. Saying just SE. That's not going to sit well with either an INTP or an INFP. But what about me? Says Matthew Alistair. I don't know when to pull the trigger. INFP confirmed. I don't know, though. My FE seems like not ignoring. Matthew, I don't know about you. You're probably an ENFP. You're just going to have to stick that in your pee hole and swallow it. I found INTPs generally leave other people alone unless it's necessary for them to get involved. What would be scary to watch? Mad INFP or Mad INFP? Mad INFP. Mad INFP is scary. I feel that the getting pissed as a person in general is more based on the person's enneagram and the auxiliary and inferior function. Do that or I will destroy your computer. Way to piss me off. Tell me I should do or feel a certain way. FE ignoring doesn't mean that your FE is bad. It just means that you assume your FE stuff will take care of itself when your FI intentions are in the right place. Yeah, that's well said, Sredi Chandran. I'm going to back that 100% with my host Eric thumbs up, seal of approval regarding an explanation of something. When anything keeps me addicted to always wanting to learn something new, reading keeps me from getting shit done. I literally wake up and start reading my phone in bed, ignoring the fact that I have to pee. Yeah, peeing is it's one of those things like, why? Why do I have to do this? I mean, if you get an INFP mad enough to strike out at you, what they're going to do is going to hurt. Believe me. Because a well of moisture turns into a well of boiling lava. The thing is, it's hard to get an INFP to strike out against anybody about anything. But it's possible, and then it's going to hurt. Can anyone successfully fake being a different type? Yeah, ENFJs are pretty good at it. Oh my god, Eric is turning into Jordan Peterson. I am? What did I say? Clean your room? Host name 3 pride parades you would consider starting. Transracial pride. The uselessness pride parade. And the humility pride parade. Those 3. Those are the 3 pride parades I would like to start. What was the first one again? I forgot what I said. The first one. Does Mr. Peterson not like PE neither? Or is it because I gave it my official host Eric TE, the person, not the idea seal of approval? I think maybe he's referring to that. That would be fair. I like the humility pride parade. We're proud of being humble. I can definitely lash out, but I've learned to be less reactive in my FI dominance. Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is because INFPs, probably better than any other type, including ISFPs, understand all the range of possible emotions that a person might feel, or probably most correctly nail what the other person is feeling based on cues, especially if it's the more subtle or less communicative kinds of emotions. Because it seems to me there are 2 kinds of emotions, right? Communicative ones and non-communicative ones. Anger is usually a communicative emotion. It's designed to express to somebody else how you feel. Sadness, not so much, right? And resentment is definitely no. Well, Elmo, everybody's a part of some minority group. So if we were to listen to you, then nobody would have any rights. What time is it? All right, I got a bell. I got to wrap this up. I got to go to work. I got to put it up my butt. If I get mad at everyone equally. Luckily for people, I don't really get mad. Why would you get mad at everyone equally? How does that make sense? If Bob pisses you off, why would you get mad at everyone equally? Lock an EHP in a room of 20 ISFPs and see what happens. They will gang rape him. A puppet talking about rights, lol. A puppet talking about rights. Feeling the most satisfaction when they act with genuine good intentions, when they act in accordance with their systematic beliefs. It also manifests as them having a really interesting relationship with their pets. You always need to look out for number 1. Nobody else will. To hell with people anyway. Jack Straub is practicing his buddy movie dialogue. When I hate someone, I usually them like 40% of what I think instead of the usual 80%, 8%. It's usually enough. There's a word or 2 missing in there, but I think I got the gist of what you're saying. I found this older Frank James vid where he talked about inferior SE, but what he was really describing was polar TE. It was funny. That's typical. People don't really understand they're polar. They get confused with something else. How long is Kevin Spacey going to be here? Be there. Beware. He still exists even if he's dead. To me, DJs are contradictory. Do you find live streams funner? Yeah, totally. Totally I do. Totally I do. That's why I do them all the time. I find them a lot funner because that's just N-E-T-I-N funner. Then I gotta go and be the bunner. Make a bun for my hamburger bread. What's an INFJ's inner monologue like? Create world peace and murder enemies at the same time? No, it's like, wow, Jim's shockingly insecure about this one particular issue, and he's displaying it to Janie all the time, but Janie's not aware of the fact that he's displaying it because she's so busy thinking about this other shit over here. Bobby thinks she's attracted to Bobby, but she doesn't even give a fuck about him. She's probably a lesbian. That's what INFJs think about all the time. Stuff like that. Bye, Eric. Bye, Spacey, says Cass Marshall. Bye, Cass Marshall.
Bye.
Wait, he did that with PoLR Se too? What type are you, Thane? He's somebody with a T instead of an S. How does FE manifest in ESTP? Same as it does in ENTP, except there's a more earthy understanding of cool. Like, intuitives will think I'm cool begrudgingly because intuitives don't think anybody's cool. But sensors will think ESTPs are cool, less begrudgingly, because sensors are willing to afford cool status to people. I think that's a good answer to that. Did I get the INFJ inner dialogue right, or inner monologue right? Sanjay? NI inner monologue is kind of like any outer monologue, except we don't inflict it upon the world. Well, I wouldn't want to have to keep all that shit inside. Get stale. You gotta let it all out. Like your pee-pee or your poo-poo. I think you said what you said is part of it. Yeah. We read everything all the time. Yeah. How does NIFE and FINE differ from how it understands people? I don't really get FINE that well, but NIFE understands people as archetypes and interactions as instances of a universal reality of social mechanics. Your NFPs, I don't know. They think whatever random crazy shit they think. Right? Who knows? Nobody can explain FI. It's a mystery. It's like a fog covering up a soup, covering up a cream-covered basket, covering up an opaque package of opacity, covering up an enigma, covering up a riddle, covering up a mystery. It's like that. That's what FI is. There's no disputing that. Everybody will agree with that. It's completely mysterious and impossible to understand. That's all we can say about it. All right, well, what I say about INFPs, right? About them being able to tell people's real feelings most clearly, but it's going to be less about the social dynamic thing of it, right? So they might be able to detect an insecurity. That would be kind of the final conclusion. They'd say, I sense some emotional disturbance in this person, and finally conclude it's an insecurity. The INFJ is going to start with a recognition of being an insecurity and then understand its implications in social dynamics. That's the difference. FI is the newest step in our evolution. We haven't evolved martial arts. That's nonsense. We were proofed into existence by a wizard and a dragon. They don't even start with that what about the dragon, where I knew where you were going with that, How does static dynamic dichotomy affect NE and I distinctions when it comes to universal essence thing? I don't really buy the static dynamic dichotomy exactly.
Well, TI isn't the reason the world sucks so much. The reason is TE.
Nothing's the reason. Nothing's the reason that the world sucks so much. The world's it doesn't suck so much. The world's a good place. I'm here to save it. I have Jesus Messiah complex. I'm here to save it by telling everybody how they're wrong. Including myself. Yes, including me. If people can tell me I'm wrong too, that's fine. I'm happy to be wrong occasionally when I am.
Eric, baby, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I go to the dominatrix and I say, listen, I got a really, really specific fetish. Well, I'm going to come in, I'm going to make some logical arguments that are perfectly sound and valid, and I want you to just over and over again tell me it doesn't matter, I'm wrong. It's the most torturous thing I can imagine, so I must be into that. NFPs are self-absorbed bums. Oh, Samretti Chandran. You're not a self-absorbed bum. You're quite engaging and delightful in these live streams. I enjoy all of your live chats. And, all that shit. And I really do have to go now, goddammit. It's 5:25. I got to work at 6:30. It'll take me approximately 1 hour to get there. So I better get going. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do, then you're a fool just like me.
Just like